You're watching NBC for New York. This is News for New York.
And welcome back. In the weeks leading up to the Olympics, Beijing officials scrambled as best they could to clear the city's thick, dusty, polluted air. In fact, they've taken some relatively drastic measures. They're trying to keep half the city's government vehicles off the road, relocating about 200 smoky factories, even converting some coal-fired power plants to natural gas. With that said, here to talk realistically about the effects of the brutal Beijing air on athletes is Dr. Janis Schaeffer. She's a pulmonologist who specifically works with young elite athletes through the Breathe Easy, Play Hard Foundation. Thank you for being here. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Maybe you have some Dayquil for me, by the way, which I would appreciate. Let's start by pointing out, now, chances are most of these athletes are really not going to be affected by this as much as we're sort of playing it up?
Actually, Jonas, I wish that were true, but it's not the case. Most athletes, many athletes, will be affected by the air quality in Beijing. The heat, the haze, and the humidity will be very intense. The haze comes from the pollution. So in addition to the pollution, the athletes will be facing temperatures of greater than 90 degrees and overwhelming humidity, all of which create very unique air quality conditions which will challenge most of the athletes. But the athletes that are most at risk are those that are coming into the Olympics with pre-existing respiratory conditions like asthma. You know, you'd be surprised to hear probably that 1 out of 4 athletes in Beijing right now have asthma.
I would also imagine that the athletes who are most affected are the ones that are playing outdoors as opposed to indoors, and also track and field, strict running, not fencing, obviously.
Absolutely. It's the high endurance, long distance athletes that can be most affected. For example, the marathon runners, the triathletes, the road cyclists, the kayakers. And the reason for that is that they're exposed to the elements for much longer period of time, and they will be breathing in much greater amount of polluted air.
How much does this affect the performance? Is it reasonable for us to expect, maybe not as many world records or lower or worse times because of the pollution?
Yeah, I think that is the case. I think that we will be seeing a significant impact on performance times as well as some short-term health risks to some of these athletes.
Now, in terms of long-term effects, does the athlete have to be worried about coming home and 6 months later still suffering from the pollution?
There isn't a lot of study about that, but we do know that, probably a 3-week stay in Beijing is not going to have a tremendous long-term impact. But pollution long-term, people that live in highly polluted areas long-term, do have significant health impact.
Quickly, I'm out of time. The masks that we saw the cyclists wearing, did that really help them?
To some extent. It doesn't filter out all the major pollutants in China.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr.
You're welcome.
We appreciate the information. And coming up after the break...